Released in 2012, Mass Effect 3 debuted to wide critical acclaim but mixed fan reaction. Praise was reserved for its combat, graphics, character moments, and atmosphere. Meanwhile, criticism was primarily directed at its marketing and for particular story moments. There are some aspects that I wish to discuss in future videos. In fact, there is one that indirectly gave me the idea to create a channel in the first place. For now, however, I want to set that aside and talk about one feature that is missing from the game and why I believe the developers originally made plans for its inclusion. Before going on, I'll point out that Mass Effect 3 is a highly ambitious game. When I played through the Legendary Edition to record footage, I was able to power through Mass Effect 1 in a little under a week. Mass Effect 2 took me about 2 weeks, and the third entry took me about 3. The final game is bigger than its previous 2 entries in a variety of ways. The environments are larger. The levels and cutscenes are longer. There are 40,000 lines of dialogue, compared to 20,000 and 25,000 for Mass Effect 1 and 2 respectively. The graphical assets and models are greater in number. The weapon and ability choices are more extensive. The expanded scope goes further than just the combat and cutscenes. A number of variables, meters, and point systems exist behind the scenes that impact different moments, such as the conclusion of Priority the Citadel 2 and Priority Rannoch. A new, if rather straightforward, war asset system also tracks your progress and readiness for the final confrontation. In addition, BioWare also released a new multiplayer mode that expands upon the assets and mechanics already present in the game. On top of all of this, Mass Effect 3 was developed on a highly arduous timeline. Mass Effect 1 was released November of 2007 after beginning pre-production in early 2004. The production ultimately included a couple of follow-up DLC packages, both of which were small in comparison to what followed. Mass Effect 2 was released January of 2010. In contrast to its predecessor, Mass Effect 2 included 5 major post-DLC packages. 3 of these packages, Firewalker, Overlord, and Lair of a Shadow Broker, included experimental vehicle sections. The last, Arrival, was released nearly a year after Mass Effect 2 and a little over a year before Mass Effect 3. Mass Effect 3 was released March 2012 after being delayed from its original scheduled release date of late 2011. Given the strict deadlines and development hell that the staff went through, a number of aspects were altered or dropped. Controversially, this is partly why From Ashes DLC was released as Day 1 DLC. While its development was complete by the end of Mass Effect 3's debut, the base game was completed and packaged without it to ensure that it would be ready to go by its already delayed release date. However, there quite plausibly is one other major feature of the game that was dropped as development progressed and deadlines moved forward. I'll note that this is speculative on my part. I have spent some time in different forums, but have never seen any information, speculation, or confirmation of this topic. It is possible that the question has been raised or confirmed. If it has already been covered, all I can say is the following.
Turned out it already existed, but I arrived at it independently.
Setting the table, in Mass Effect 1 you have 6 squad mates. Each represent one of the 6 different classes at your disposal. This, of course, does not include our fallen hero, Jenkins. In Mass Effect 2, the roster expands to 12 squad mates, not counting DLC, also not including this guy.
Miranda, but you were...
Dead?
In Mass Effect 3, you have 3 required squad mates, James, Liara, and Edie, 1 alternating squad mate, Kaidan or Ashley, depending on who survives Mass Effect 1, 2 potential surviving squad mates from Mass Effect 1 and 2, Garrus and Tali, finally, 1 DLC squad mate, Javik, who is automatically included in the Legendary Edition. This brings us to a max total of 7, not counting the Omega DLC. On paper, this is a reduction in the number of squad mates. That in and of itself is not necessarily a problem, but it is noticeable. However, we get hints that more were planned. Specifically, these hints start from the very beginning of the game. As I pointed out in my squadmate power rankings, Anderson, your mentor throughout the series, actually acts as your first and last squadmate in Mass Effect 3. Anderson's role in the beginning helps tutorialize squadmate mechanics for new players, whereas his role in the end is more story-focused. Anderson technically brings the number of available squadmates in Mass Effect 3 to 8, again not counting Omega, but the number was likely intended to be even higher. Specifically, based on the cutscene and mission layouts, the developers of Mass Effect 3 likely intended, or at least considered, pairing Shepard with every living squadmate from every previous game. However, due to deadlines and feasibility concerns, this feature was scrapped and reunions were relegated to cutscenes. Circumstantial evidence for additional squadmate mechanics extend beyond Anderson. Immediately after leaving Earth and landing on Mars, Shepard orders James Vega back to the Normandy and joins Liara and the Vermeer survivor to the archives. On Menet, the player chooses a squadmate to fix a tower while fighting with the other squadmate on the ground.
James, you're up for tower repair.
On it. Might take me a while, but I'll do my best.
Sorry, sir. Doing my best.
Shortly after, we trade Garrus for Liara, assuming Garrus survives the suicide mission, of course, and Liara heads back to check on the Normandy. This all suggests that similar mechanics were intended elsewhere as well, where certain squadmates would be swapped out automatically or at the player's discretion. Automatically assigned squadmates do show up in a few other points in the game. Tali is required for Rannoch should she survive the suicide mission, Liara is required on Thessia, Edie is also required on Kronos Station. Between this and the automatic assignments already discussed from the game's first act, all Mass Effect 3 squadmates, except for Javik, are required somewhere throughout the game. Additionally, the tower repair decision shows up again during Rannoch Admiral Chorus.
James, get on it.
Tech's not my specialty, but I'll pull a few wires, see what comes out. Who made that man a gunner?
I did, sir. He's my cousin.
Had it made it into the final game, the additional squadmates would likely be implemented much the same way. When it comes time to team up with the former squadmate, Shepard selects which current squadmate goes back to the Normandy with some brief line of dialogue offering justification and continue with the new squad. Before proceeding, the skill tree and weapon loadout would appear, offering the player a chance to select the desired abilities and weaponry, same as the beginning of the mission. Likely, past squadmates were intended to be automatically assigned, at least in the missions in which they appear. It is unclear if the squadmates would join the Normandy crew following their mission. Story-wise, it is possible that some could remain aboard the Normandy, at least temporarily. The Normandy layout in Mass Effect 3 does somewhat center around the squadmates we do get, but additional room does exist, including areas from Mass Effect 2 that were blocked off in Mass Effect 3. The War Room presents additional space where we already see certain characters reside at certain times. Additionally, we see crew members occasionally move about the Normandy, either to prompt a new conversation with Commander Shepard or engage in conversation with each other. The past squadmates missions, which are mostly optional, showcase opportunities to bring them into the crew, at least temporarily. At Grissom Academy, Shepard meets Jack, who now serves the Alliance as a biotic instructor.
Your guys?
Yeah, I guess so.
How in the hell did you end up teaching people?
You say it like you think I'm gonna make them explode or something.
On Utuku, we meet Grunt, now head of Arlac Company. On Array, we meet Jacob, who now works with a group of Cerberus defectors. In the Kalini Ardat Yakshi Monastery, Shepard reunites with Samara, who now seeks to protect her daughters from the threats that now befall their home. Additionally, on the Citadel, Shepard meets both Zaid and Kasumi, who serve the Alliance in different ways should they survive. Speaking of the Citadel, Thane's arc comes to a conclusion during the attempted Cerberus coup. As long as Thane survives the suicide mission and Shepard visits him in the hospital prior to Tuchanka, Thane will appear during the Citadel too. Story-wise, Thane is separated from Shepard up until he rescues the Solarian counselor, but it would also make sense for Thane to meet with Shepard at the docks and join the squad for most of the mission. The biggest opportunity to bring a previous crewmate into the squad comes in the form of Legion. Shepard rescues Legion aboard the Geth Dreadnought, and Legion then proceeds to remain aboard the Normandy and coordinate with Shepard up until Priority Rannoch. Finally, Shepard meets up with Miranda multiple times throughout Mass Effect 3. This begins with a personal conversation aboard the Citadel and concludes with meeting her at the end of Priority Horizon. Plot-wise, Miranda's absence from Shepard's crew makes the most sense, at least until Horizon wraps up, due to her personal mission to find her sister and her solo anti-Cerberus activities. I will say that the player does get to reunite with most of the squad mates outside of the missions in which they appear. Additionally, we do receive a final goodbye with every surviving squad mate during Priority Earth. However, the possibilities for teaming up with these squad mates could have enriched the side missions further. Samara's complicated relationship with her daughters could be more personal had she not split off from the player. Jack's protection of her students could take an added dimension by accompanying her throughout Grissom Academy. The choice between the Rachni Queen and Arlak Company would be even more wrenching with Grunt by your side. Zaid and Kasumi could also have potential as at least temporary squad mates, although Zaid's power set could prove somewhat redundant in relation to James, or if she rejoined Shepard, Ashley. Jacob is also a very stark example of what was lost by not having a greater role, as he goes from a highly relatable character at the beginning of Mass Effect 2 to a rather forgettable character by the end of Mass Effect 3. The most potential would come from the characters we meet during the main story. Mordin and Rex serving at Shepard's side would offer major possibilities on Surkesh and especially Tuchanka, bringing their already impressive arcs to a conclusion in even more personal fashion. Teaming up with Thane to take back the Citadel would offer another perspective into the ongoing coup. Legion serving on the squad would add another dimension to the Rannoch arc. As Shepard barrels toward the inevitable conclusion of this centuries-long war between Legion and Tali's people, the final confrontation would offer a standoff not just between two beloved companions, but two companions who you fought alongside throughout the final push to free the Geth from the Reaper's control. Finally, Miranda. Miranda joining the team during Priority Horizon would not necessarily be better than attempting to catch up with her. However, her input would dramatically shift the conversation on Kronos Station. Hearing what Miranda has to say as Shepard reviews the details of Project Lazarus, the development of EDI, the descent of the Elusive Man, the remains of a collector base, and the final confrontation with Kai Lang could certainly add quite a bit, especially if a player is in a romance with her. For the most part, evidence of this potential feature being planned or considered is purely circumstantial. However, there does exist some unused dialogue from Priority Earth showcasing a widened role of certain past companions.
Hell! Never did think I'd live forever! Push! You gonna let a few Reapers stop you?
While this did not make it into the final game, mods such as Take Earth Back and Priority Earth Overhaul have used the audio to supplement their own material. The gap also does get plugged in the Citadel DLC. Armax Arena allows you nearly every missing squad mate from Mass Effect 2, excluding only Legion, Mordin, and Thane. Rex, of course, is also a playable squad mate throughout the base DLC, finally completing the surviving Mass Effect 1 roster in Mass Effect 3. Now, this was the final DLC of the trilogy and came out a considerable amount of time after Mass Effect 3's release, but this does suggest a certain amount of pre-planning or design for these characters during Mass Effect 3's development. Before I wrap up, I will add that this video is not meant as a complaint. There would be little point in complaining now, given that it's been 10 years since Mass Effect 3 was released, and a little over a year since the Legendary Edition came out. There would be even less point in complaining, given that I do have a soft spot for the entire trilogy, the third game included. Instead, this video is meant as a possible glimpse into the path that the game took over the course of its development. Anytime a team undertakes a project of this size, scope, and complexity we see in a game like Mass Effect 3, compromises get made, plans become streamlined, and certain features get altered or dropped. I will put my cards on the table and disclose that my day job is software engineering, so I can sympathize with the fact that it is easy to overestimate how much can get done in a given amount of time, only to have to leave certain things either on the back burner to return to at a later date, or on the cutting room floor, where the only benefit it serves is as a learning experience, or optimistically, a template for something else in the future. For its part, Citadel DLC is regarded as a major work of fan service, and the developer's way of saying goodbye to the trilogy. In that respect, it also serves as a way for the devs to make use of all the work they put in, and by all appearances, features that couldn't make it into the original game. So that's my video. Leave a comment if you agree, disagree, or have any additional insights on the topic. As always, feel free to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Also feel free to like and subscribe if you don't. I'm not gonna stop you. Thanks for watching.
Push!
Hey, partner, come on, you gotta relax. Don't force it. Gonna blow out your O-ring. Drop a lung.
Ah! Keep it up! Bring it!
That's right, buddy. You show that turd who's boss.
Ah!
Hey, just grab a hold of something, bite your lip, and give it hell. Come on. We're gonna get through this.
Got another one!
Hey, that sounds pretty nasty. How about a courtesy flush over there?